So this morning I'm going to share some information with you that you've probably never heard in your whole life. As you can tell, I'm back here in my backyard, and as you can see, I only do container gardening. Here's a close-up of one of my favorite new tomatoes. This is called the Indigo Blueberry, and they start off with a very deep purple top and eventually shift into a red with almost like bruised spots. It's a really unique tomato. I love it a lot. Look at how prolific this plant is. There's just tons of berries on it. The plant that you're currently looking at is a big beef. We've harvested a number of huge tomatoes off of it, and this is new growth. And over here, this is my Bush Champion. So this is the only determinate plant that I have. Okay, so it is the end of June. So in Oklahoma, it's usually 104, but over the last few weeks, the high has been between the upper 80s, mid 90s. So it's been perfect weather in the morning. So I'm out here early in this morning. It's, I don't know, maybe 7:30. Just got done drinking my coffee on the porch, and I decided it's time to talk to you guys about how to actually trim your tomatoes. I think we've been taught wrong our whole lives. So I've got 3 different tomato types here. I have a Bush Champion, which is this right here in the corner. Is that right? Yes, right here. And then I have these guys, which are, these are little tiny fruits, but these are called Indigo Blueberries. So I've never seen these tomatoes before, but this is the first year I've seen them, and they have been incredibly prolific. Let me show you what I mean. So look at how beautiful these fruits look, right? So they start off with a deep purple top, and then apparently they turn red, which is a little disappointing because I was hoping they would stay blue the whole time. And then in the back, I have what are called big beefs. So the only plant that I have that is a determinate right now is this Bush Champion. So the Bush Champion is a determinate, meaning it will only reach a certain specific height, and then it will continue to produce leaves. Basically, after it's produced its first crop of fruit, it will probably just produce leaves throughout the rest of the season. Now, I keep my bushes trimmed a little bit so that they can produce new growth and flower. So this is like the 3rd set of flowers I've gotten on this plant. The tomatoes are delicious. I've had a number of them, but I want to talk about how I get that. So especially with indeterminate plants, we've always been taught that we need to clip the suckers. It's a lie. So clipping the suckers means that you don't get new growth that produces flowers and fruit. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to get in here and I'm going to see if I can show you the difference between clipping suckers and clipping non-productive plant parts. This is the Indigo Blueberry. Look, you can see that the tops of the tomatoes are very deep purpley blue, and you can see here that's a little bit of crepe myrtle blowing in. Anyway, so they're beautiful plants, but look right here, right? So you can see that sucker right in the middle. That is not a bad thing. And look directly below it. There's another even bigger sucker, 2, 1 on each side. So, you know, traditionally you've been taught that those suckers need to go. Well, I'm going to tell you this. Keep your suckers, because your suckers are where the new plant growth happens. I have been working on this plant for the last couple of months, and it is absolutely killing it. I got a couple damaged plants, but like, look right here, right? So it's a broken leaf, probably from when I turned it. I'm gonna cut it just beyond the sucker, as close as you can get, but keep the suckers, okay? So I know you're gonna ask yourself, why do I wanna keep the suckers? Well, because here's the situation. You've been taught your whole life that the suckers are going to take the plant's energy. They're going to, make your fruit smaller. Whatever you've been told is inaccurate. If you want your plant to be more productive, the suckers are the new growth that branch out, that flower, and that give you more and more significant growth. So don't cut your suckers, cut the leaves around them. And the reason that you trim up tomato plants is because you do not want crowded, airless fruit. You want to make sure that your fruits get the breeze. You want to make sure that they're not being too shaded from the other leaves, because if they are, that's when you start to get pests, and that's when you get molds and mildews and all the different kind of diseases that cause your tomatoes to lose their leaves or to develop, kind of deformed tomatoes. So keep airflow. You want to trim everything up so you get it nice and breezy underneath. You want to keep all of your growth toward the top. Your tomatoes will continue to reach out for the sun. Let them do it, all right? I'm going to come back to you in just a minute and show you some of the clippings. Okay, now you might want me to prove to you what I'm talking about when I talk about cut the leaves and leave the suckers. So I'll show you. Let me get a little close up here. All right, so here is the main stem of my tomato. And if you look right here, right? Oh, where am I? Right here. You can see that I trimmed that a long time ago. It's been gone for quite a while. It's healed, but you can see this is that 45-degree angle sucker. Now watch. I'm gonna follow it up. Right? So there's the stem. Look at this. This is the branch. Look at all those tomatoes. All of those tomatoes are coming from that same sucker plant, right? Again, following it up. And sorry, it's a little blurry, but you can see this is a whole, and look, keep following it. There's still brand new growth with brand new tomato blossoms. Don't cut your suckers. All right, so here is, I'm gonna show you this here. So you can see the damage here. Now this is not, bugs or anything like that. This is just from tomato rubbing on the cage. So we get some crazy winds here in Tulsa, but there you go. Now look at this. So I'm gonna go up here, follow this branch right here, and then look, there's a sucker. Here's the regular leaf. Here's a sucker. What's it doing, right? So when you cut it, you're not cutting the sucker, you cut that other branch off. It's just a leaf. It'll leave that sucker there so that it grows those flowers and blossoms into a delicious patch of tomatoes. You might have heard me say it. Stop cutting your suckers. You've been taught wrong your whole lives. Look at that. If you want prolific, productive tomatoes, let your suckers grow. One more example. Regular stem, this would have been a leaf, tomato leaf. This would have started as a sucker. Look at it, right? This is that same branch. Started as a sucker. Look at all those tomatoes. It would not have happened if I trimmed it. Okay, so I've spent some time trimming up my tomatoes. I've clipped all the spots that I think are kind of the most destructive. So they're ones with the most holes from bugs or diseased or yellowed. One of the things about tomatoes is they're incredibly susceptible to all kinds of tomato viruses and bacteria and fungi. I'm a fun guy. No. Anyway, so one of the things you've got to do is you've got to really focus on the leaves that look awful. I'll show you my clippings here in just a second. So the tops of my tomatoes, I've not really spent any time up here because all of your growth that you want to keep comes up, right? So it comes up from the plant. So you want all of the tips to grow new flowers. You want all of your suckers to continue to sprout off so that you can grow more tomatoes, right? Don't cut the tops of your trees or your tomato plants, especially if they're determinants. If they're determinant plants, they only get to about a specific height and they will stop producing, right? So this right here, okay, so this one back in the back is the big beef, right? So you can see it's gonna keep growing, but now look at the difference in height. So this is the top of my Bush Champion. So it's still getting new growth from the suckers that pop up, but it won't get much taller than this. You can see here, still new blossoms coming in. But now, look at the difference from underneath. So I've trimmed out a bunch of the leaves that were crossing, a bunch of those that were getting scarred up by the wires that they're on, the supports, right? You wanna just make sure there's better airflow. You can see some of these leaves are getting damaged by bugs, but I don't kill them all, I don't take them all out. Look at that. That one's gonna come out. But look at this pile that I have. Okay? Your tomatoes can handle trimming They just don't want to be trimmed from your suckers, all right? All right, friends, I hope you have learned something new today, that your tomatoes, while they can take a ton of trimming, they can take the abuse of getting parts and pieces cut off of them, the one thing they don't want is for you to take away the suckers. So again, don't cut your suckers. Friends, it reminds me of how sometimes our lives feel stressful, sometimes we struggle, sometimes it feels like parts of our lives are being stripped away from us or cut away. We can't always look at those things as bad, right? When we trim a tomato, we know that it's gonna grow stronger, it's gonna grow more fruit, it's gonna be more productive. And I think the same is true for us, friends. So whatever you're going through today, know that sometimes it takes a little bit of trimming for us to become the people that we're supposed to be. You guys have a great day, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.